Hi Prince Asia, I'm Matilda Tristram. Thanks for having me. I'm going to tell you a bit about my book, Probably Nothing, which is a graphic memoir or comic diary that I started writing when I was 4 months pregnant and had just been diagnosed with bowel cancer. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like on the inside. And these are a couple of frames from the first page. I was wearing my favourite t-shirt on the day of the diagnosis. I never want to wear it again. The flat is full of flowers. No one can bring themselves to write cancer in a card, apart from one friend who's had it before. Oh, cancer! At this point, I'd recently spent a couple of weeks in hospital having a tumour removed from my bowel, which doctors told me was likely to be benign. So I was looking forward to going home, recovering, getting on with being pregnant. Here's me finding out that the tumour was in fact cancerous. A tiny windowless room. I try not to think it must be bad news. The bad news is that I'm afraid the tumour was cancerous. I don't feel anything. The good news is that of the 25 lymph nodes we removed, only 5 were infected, so we'll give you a course of mild chemotherapy to mop up any leftover cells. I'm surprised to notice that the only reaction to being told I've got a potentially terminal disease is that my neck feels suddenly icy cold. I think this is the moment we hug each other and cry. I'll let you have some space for a bit. We hug each other and cry. I have a CT scan to see if it's spread to my liver or lungs. It hasn't. So at this point, me and my partner Tom were faced with some very difficult decisions about what to do with regards to the pregnancy and the treatment that I needed to have. So here's the first scene where we meet my oncologist and she's explaining what our options are. As I see it, you've got 3 options. Have chemo now and risk damaging the baby. Terminate the pregnancy and start chemo after that. And I must make you aware that chemo could make you infertile. Or delay treatment until after it's born. The surgeon mentioned that as the cancer hadn't spread very far, there might be some sort of mild chemo available. Forgive me, but the surgeon is not a cancer doctor. Chemo is chemo. There's no such thing as mild chemotherapy. We need to attack you with it. I had asked her to tell it to me straight. We did continue with the pregnancy, and I had 6 doses of chemotherapy before my son James was born, and here he is being born by caesarean section. It all happens very quickly and feels like someone rummaging in a handbag. Tom sits next to me. He can see what's happening in the reflection on the lamp. Here he is. They lift the baby over my head. I hear him cry and get a good view of his bum. All I can think of to say is wow. After James was born, I wasn't able to see him immediately. Because he was a bit early and had gone to the intensive care unit, I had to wait for 12 hours, which was very difficult after what we'd been through together. So here are some drawings of the first time I'm finally allowed to see James. I'm allowed in at last. It doesn't feel like he's really ours. He could be any old baby in a box. I can't believe he's okay. Look at his long legs. We sing him the theme tune from Father Ted, which I often got stuck in my head and hummed a lot when I was pregnant. I still cry if I hear the Father Ted theme tune 2 years later. James is absolutely fine. He didn't seem to be harmed by the chemo. Here's a photo of us from last week looking for the eclipse in South London. It was cloudy. People often ask why I decided to write the comic, and there's lots of reasons. I had a job as a children's writer for years and did lots and lots of storyboarding, so it felt very natural to work that way. I also love writing comics and have written them for years, just for fun, sometimes about life, sometimes more indirectly about life. Here's a few comics that I made before I got ill. This first one is a small section from one about going to the David Hockney exhibition. Why would they put these ones together? I mean, why? Oh yes, on my mother's side, he was an artist too. It's because of the simplicity of the style, I think. Yes, 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 yes. And here's another one about going to a women's yoga class in Stoke Newington. Let your eyeballs be heavy. Does anyone have a silver Audi? It's blocking the gate. My doctor says I've got hamstrings to die for. Some people are really pa, 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 but you are much more and another one about a person and a chair. I am a person. I am a chair. Chairs are not supposed to speak. People are not supposed to speak to chairs. Is it not these nonsensical and charming eccentricities, characteristic of persons such as myself, that play such a major role in defining what it is to be human? Yes, I suppose so. So suddenly my real life was very interesting, it was very scary, it was very unpredictable. I had all this great material handed to me on a plate. I was around lots of interesting characters all the time in hospital. Almost felt like I couldn't not write about it. Writing and drawing also really helped take my mind off how scared I was about things. So I wanted to do it all the time as much as possible. Here's a drawing of me drawing. And here's another drawing of me drawing on the chemo ward. I had to go and have chemo and be in hospital about 3 days a week. It was like having a really rubbish new job. And the wards were quite comfortable. You had a little desk, it was air conditioned, so it was quite a good atmosphere for doing work, and there was lots of creative stuff going on there. I also wanted to let people know about what might or might not be helpful to say to someone with cancer, because I know it isn't always easy to know what the right thing to say is. I hate hearing about other people's cancer experiences. Of course, when Roger died, blah, 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 blah. Especially if they died. I feel like I'm being chased by ghosts. It was really amazing. My mum lived for 12 years after her diagnosis. That's not amazing. That's shit. I want to live for another 50 at least. None of these people relate to me, so I don't want to know. Judy looked like a skeleton at first. Sometimes it's as if people want to show they aren't afraid to talk about it. Best thing to do is walk away. They're only trying to be nice. I guess if people's relatives have died of cancer, they do need to talk about it, but I am definitely not the right person to talk about it with. One of the things I really regret is not putting more in the comic about all the alternative therapy I tried before I was diagnosed, when my doctors thought all the symptoms that I had were nothing to worry about. It was all a really dangerous waste of time, and if I just kept going back to my doctor instead of going for alternative therapy, I could have been diagnosed much, much sooner, and my chances of survival now would be much better. So here's a strip I wrote about that to go with the release of the book. I have to try really hard not to bite people's heads off when they talk to me about alternative therapy. I've been seeing this naturopath. He's really great. I have so much more energy now I've cut out wheat. Have you ever been to one? Yes, and if I hadn't wasted so much time f***ing around with naturopaths and acupuncture crooks, I'd have a much better chance of still being alive in 5 years' time. Lovely cake. Doctors had mistaken my symptoms for indigestion. Unaware that a large tumour was growing in my bowel, I went for several alternative therapies to try and ease the pain and tiredness I'd been experiencing. My GP said take Gaviscon. Oh, you poor thing. The trouble is with doctors is that they only treat the symptoms. We treat the whole person. I can tell from your pulse that your chi is very depleted. What are you doing this week? Oh, just trying to get things moving a bit. There, can you feel that one tugging? Yeah, good, that means it's working. I used to feel better after appointments. Please look after yourself. Keep taking the Floridix and no potatoes for you now. They're too damp for you. I could fit you in next Wednesday? Great, here's 50 quid. Lovely. When that didn't work, I saw a naturopath who looked at my blood under a microscope. Aha, you see, you're not breaking down fat properly. Take 10 oxygen drops, 6 papaya seeds, maple syrup and bicarbonate of soda for the acidity, honey and cider vinegar mix and a glass of champagne daily. You'll feel better in no time. I thought, it can't hurt. All the while, the tumour had grown through the lining of my bowel and started to spread into my lymph nodes, which means it's much more likely to come back and kill me. Now, just quickly, I'm going to show you some of my favourite pictures from the comic. This is one of the first time that James smiles, and me thinking that I feel happier than I've ever felt before. I also loved writing and drawing about East London, where we lived at the time, and all the funny people that live there. Here's me and Tom laughing at some hipsters making a music video. Some kind of music video is being filmed in the street. 2-person space hoppers and men waiting around in droopy chicken suits. Eek, embarrassing! The tramps look unimpressed. Ugh, I hate myself. I want to tell the tramps I'm not like these people. I'm going to finish by reading a poem that's in the book that I wrote about going to health food shops. Pak choi, pui chai, yerba mate, corn pie, goji, acai, ayurveda, hopi ear candle, welida, blue-green algae, burt and tang, oolong, oatly, ylang ylang, agar, citronella, tea pig, arnica, chlorella, Dr. Hauschka, spirulina, rice cake, provamel, verbena, flapjack, porridge, pomegranate, raisins, water, rooibos, date. Cashew butter, frugrain, chi, buckwheat, barley, pinto pea, mahi, psyllium husk, umeboshi plum, white musk. I couldn't think of an ending and still bought quite a lot of it. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoy the book. Thanks very much.